everybody. Trust you are doing well. So I want to reintroduce myself because my previous video was to address 200 level students here, and I want to believe that you people are 100 level students, Lagos State University, and like I said in that video, I said that the essence of this YouTube video is to help you assimilate faster, not to replace what your lecturer has taught you, but to buttress, his point. And another good thing is people coming after you will find this video very, very useful. So I hope you get the best of this video, and I hope you get the best grade this semester. And I want to let you know that YouTube videos are good, but they are better when you've read and somebody's just discussing. Because what I do basically now, what I'll be doing is to discuss, because I want to believe that you've read, you've attended classes. So this video is not like a shortcut. Do you understand? I want to believe that you've read. I want to believe that you've attended your classes. You've tried to. You've just done what you have to do. You've paid your dues, and with this, I hope you get a 5. It's very possible. I had a 5 too. I had a 5 in most of my post-science courses when I was an undergraduate. By the way, I'm a graduate of political science. I'm a first-class graduate. And I had 5s apparently in most of my post-science courses. So if I could do it, I see no reason why you cannot do it. Just try to pay your due diligence and leave the rest to the Almighty. So today I'll be talking about the Pre Colonial Society, or the Pre Colonial African Society. And I don't know if I've said this, but this is for 102, Introduction to African Politics. And African politics is a very, very interesting course because it makes you understand where you are coming from. So there's a saying that if you do not know your history, you make mistakes of history. And it is very, very important as political science students to know, because the next video I'll be talking about, or in the coming videos I'll be talking about colonialism. I cannot tell you about colonialism if you do not know what your country, what your continent was like, what brought about Africa, what were we like before. Was colonialism like, did colonialism truncate our development? What was our society like? Was it true that because there's a narrative by some scholars that Africa was a dark continent, filled with mosquitoes, uncivilized and whatever. Some of them were animals before the advent of colonialism, and it was colonialism that civilized or opened their eyes to better things. So if you would want to believe that if you do not know what your society was like, right? So as we know, Africa is a continent of comprising of over 50 countries, right? It has over 50 countries, and it is a home for the black race, kind of, because we have them all over. But originally, Africa is the home of black people. And our society before colonialism, remember I'm talking about pre-colonial Africa, right? Because now we are in post-colonial Africa. Even if post-colonial Africa in quotes, we'll be coming to that. The African society before colonialism had structures. It had structures, and I'll be looking at certain variables. What was their means of income? So let me start with their means of income. So in the pre-colonial African society, there was nothing like monetary exchange. And when you get to 200 level for 206, you talk about primitive accumulation of capital and that is when you would see how we got to spending money, right? But now the African society the African society was, you know, dependent on trade by barter as a as a means of exchange. That is, if I have yam and um you have beans, and I need the beans and you need the yam, we exchange. So it wasn't like, oh, I'm selling my yam. It was trade by barter that was their means of, exchange. Let me put it that way. It was their means of exchange. And they depend so then it was they had plantations, and it it wasn't more of cash crops now. In the pre-colonial African society, the means of production then was more like, you know food crops. So we plant for my family. I plant pepper, I plant maize, I do this. And but as time went on, it's not as if there was no means of, for example, the trade by barter I told you about was a means of exchange, right? But people were able to plant. They had in their homes. It was only on few occasions that, you would have to exchange, unless when we started having things like material clothing and all of that. you know that really made trade by barter very, very popular. But aside that, many people were farmers. In fact, people who were not farmers were kings, and you will still bring your farm produce as a tribute to his farm, when it was harvest season. So the king wasn't working, basically. It was just you people bringing it as a form of your taxes. You pay taxes, for example, in the old Oyo Empire, you pay taxes through, in form of tributes, and it was like your farm produce and what have you. Now, in pre-colonial African society, we had a system of government. Yes, we had a system of government, and that system of government varied. It varied based on, the society. For example, the old Oyo Empire has a semblance of democracy, because we have the Alaafin as the administrative head, the one who oversees, which is like the executive. We have the legislature, the chiefs. They make laws not on their own, but they discuss with the king. They come together, deliberate on issues, and, the king will make the law. And that is when you say you can only suggest to the king, and, and your suggestion may actually become a law. So it's not as if you make a suggestion and the king just trashes your suggestion. Your suggestion may be something that resonates with the king, and the king will make it into a law. So it wasn't an authoritarian system. That's why I said it has a semblance of um democracy. And the king, in the old Oyo Empire, the king could be told to abdicate the throne by the Oyomesi, the kingmakers. And now, in the modern democracy, we have what we call impeachment. We impeach um any executive that doesn't perform to our expectation, right? And in the old Oyo Empire, I'm using the old Oyo Empire because it is something that you people can relate to. I wouldn't be using, oh, the Ashanti tribe, the Dahomey tribe, when we have something that we have examples around us, right? So um the the Alaafin of Oyo could be told to abdicate the throne if he failed to do right by the people, or the Oyomesi found fault in um his administration. I hope you understand that. Yeah, sorry, I have to quickly pause the video. I'm not editing it, so you'll see all the pause and everything. So, the king, there was a semblance of a democratic government, and we had chiefs. He had Iyalode, the Ashikpa, Otunwosi. These people were chiefs who advised the king, right? Then um In the east we had the king, the chiefs, we had age groups and all of that, you know. So, but in the north, by by um, by nature and their their way of life, which was corroborated by the Islamic religion, makes them feel like the emir is divine. That is, the emir is not meant to be questioned. So when we talk about types of or systems of government, we look at theocracy. So I think this is a very good example of a theocratic government in the north. So the northerners saw the the rulers as, oh, they were ordained by the Almighty, therefore whatever rule they made, whatever they said was final at that point. And you still, you see how things are now. We had different this thing, and I want to make this point that Nigeria is a consequence of the 1914 amalgamation. The northern and the southern protectorates were amalgamated by Sir Frederick Lugard, Lord Lugard, for administrative convenience. That was the main reason, you know, why Nigeria was, why we have the Nigerian state, why it was amalgamated at that point. So, and the reason why we have Africa today, well, fine, we are Africans, but what brought about Africa? Why do we have West Africa? Why do we have East Africa? Why do we have Southern Africa? I did not say South Africa, Southern Africa. Now, the Berlin Conference, 1884-1885, you know, was when they call it Scramble for Africa, or Nigeria. Africa was partitioned during that conference. So when I was an undergraduate, what made me really, really sink into this was that, especially when we treat colonialism, you see where I'm going. Africa was just just divided us without knowing our historical antecedents, and that is why you see a part of Benin Republic, you hear some, you would see that some parts speak Egun, and we have Eguns in Badagry, right? Some of them speak Yoruba, and we have the Yoruba tribe in the southwestern part of Nigeria. We just see so many things, and you hear that some people from the north are originally from Niger and all of that. So the African continent was the consequence of the 1884-1885 Berlin Conference. So I was talking about, I'm still talking about the Pre-Colonial African Society. The Pre-Colonial African Society was semi-egalitarian, and I would tell you why it was semi-egalitarian. It was not, and the reason why I'm saying that is that there was no clear-cut difference between the middle class, the poor and the rich. Fine, we know that we had a class. Do you understand? We had a class. We had um, people who were rich, but unlike the kind of society we have today, it wasn't so pronounced. We know people who are rich, or who are powerful, like the king, the members of the royal family, chiefs and all. But aside those people, we would have traders who were also rich, and we would have villagers, people who are around the middle class or the lower class. It has always been like that. But you see that very clear difference like we have today now. Now, even with the structural adjustment policy in Nigeria, it's either you are rich or you are poor. It has wiped out the middle class. When you do for 404, you understand. I'm so sorry, I'm taking you to 404. You would understand what I'm trying to say. But what I'm trying to emphasize here is that unlike now that we have a very clear difference between the rich and the poor, the upper class and the lower class, we don't even have a middle class in Nigeria. So let's scrap that. It was not so defined, with the exception of the royal family, those ones that are influential. So this video is just to let you know where we're coming from. And the African society at that time, we valued culture. Unlike what we have now, we valued culture. We're very cultural people. When I was an undergrad, Professor Mudashiru mentioned something. He said, unlike now, that you will see somebody, we know that this government official is corrupt, right? You praise your oppressor. This person's corruption is dragging the development of the country backwards. It's dragging it, it's making it, we are not developing as we should, because corruption is also a factor that contributes to our underdevelopment. But you keep on praising this person. You cannot call this person out and look at the person in the face. Even when you see the person face to face, you keep saying yes sir, yes ma, yes sir. So I'm not continuing verbatim, but this is what I was able to get from the conversation in the class that day. You praise your oppressor. This person steals. So what we now call it is money laundering. Then what he said was, no matter who you are, so far as you have a record of theft, you see that tag only, a thief would always be on you. But what do we have in our society today? That is why it's important that we have an idea of what the pre-colonial African society looks like, so that we would know what the colonial society is, what the post-colonial society is, and we'll be able to look at the differences there. We're traditional people. We upheld culture, morals, values at that time. So it's not more. This video will not be a very long video, because the African society is, we depended on food crops. We depended on hunting. We depended on weaving. We weave, especially in the Yoruba Empire. People would weave clothes that we call ashoke or ofi. In parts like, or the Egba people had this traditional adire. So we were very, very industrious. Africans were industrious. The Dahomey people, even before colonialism, they had, in fact, I feel like the Dahomey people were in fact, they are one of the few people or few tribes in the world that started showing the strength of women, showing the importance. Let me use the word strength now. Showing the importance of women in the society. So, so for that, the African society is not a backward society. The African society was growing at its own pace. Gradually, we were growing at our own pace. We would, hunt. We would drink water from the stream, from the rivers, and the African society of that time, people were more upright when it comes to morals. People were more upright. So If you have questions, if you feel like there's a part I've not touched, like I said, it's just a discussion, you know, let me know in the comment section. And thank you so much for listening to me. Let me put it that way. It's so nice to want to give back. So in the next video, I'll talk about the Colonial African Society, colonialism, the definition, what did Kwame Nkrumah say about it. I'll give my own opinion about it, the effects, and we'll move on to other topics. See you in the next video.